This week's parsha, the Haftarah of the parsha, deals with the mice of the Devorah and the victory over Sisroi and Shiras Devorah. So, usually the Haftarah is a hemshech or a connection to the weekly parsha. So it's interesting that the Haftarah chooses to connect with the Shira instead of with Lamoshel Kriyas Yamsuf. They could have told over in the Haftarah the story of the Yeshua crossing the Yarden and the Yarden splitting, right? Why do you have to talk about Shiras Devorah? So Vais the Shira is a very significant thing, very important concept in Yiddishkeit. And it's interesting at the Zach. This coming Shabbos is called Shabbos Shira. We don't have that many Shabbos and they have a special name. We have Shabbos Shuva, Shabbos Hagadol, maybe Shabbos Chazoin, Shabbos Nachmu. Shabbos Shira is an interesting Zach that we have a special Shabbos after Shabbos Shira. So it's a couple of machshavos that I wanted to share Negeya to first of all, by Maimed Har Sinai. So the Torah says that Kadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe, and Moshe came to Klal Yisrael to give him the Aseret Dibros, and it says in the pasuk right before the giving of the Aseret Dibros, Moshe Yedaber, B'ho Elokim Ya'anenu B'koil, and Kadosh Baruch Hu, Poshet Pshat, Kadosh Baruch Hu amplified his voice or gave Moshe's voice the ability to carry to Klal Yisrael. But the Gemara in Erchin has a shaila. What's the makar that the Levium have to sing in the Beis Hamikdash? How do you know that they have to sing in the Beis Hamikdash? It doesn't say a beferish pasuk that Moshe Rabbeinu told Aaron, told the Levium they have to sing in the Beis Hamikdash. So what's the makar for that? So the Gemara answers the pasuk Moshe Yedaber v'ho Elokim Yanenu b'koil al iskei koil. Kadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe, results gedenken, you should remember that you have to sing in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Mishkan, whatever it is, there has to be Shira. So you have to understand, this moment of Maimed Har Sinai is the epic moment in world history. If somebody asks you what was the most important event in the history of the world besides creation, you would say Maimed Har Sinai, because without that Hashem would have destroyed the world. The world was hanging in the balance, right? The Yom HaShishi, if not for Shishi B'Sivan, Hashem would have destroyed the world. So this is the moment that creation is waiting for. And what does HaKadosh Baruch Hu do right before? He says, Moshe Rabbeinu, don't forget, you got to sing. So why is that? Why of all things is that important, right? In the Shtol Tzachor, the guy is walking his daughter down to the chuppah, right? So they're walking down to the chuppah and he turns to his wife. He says, Blanche, did we pay the public service bill this month? She says, Max, are you crazy? We're taking Gertrude to the chuppah, and the only thing on your mind is the public service bill. So, what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu worried about singing at a time? This is the chasna between Klal Yisrael and the Rabbi Shalom. This is the moment that history is waiting for, and what about singing? So I think the aside is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, you're about to give the first class, you're giving the first shiur to the Jewish people. And you have to understand, in Yiddishkeit Tzedor Azach from Shira, there's an inyan of simcha, an inyan of joy. And when people are happy, it resonates from within them with the simcha. You have to give it over in a Zah Oishen that they feel the joy, the radiance that being a Yid can give you. You have to have that, and you takasi. You know, when you go into a Beis Medrash, you hear Bachim singing. People, right? You go into medical school, and you're not going to hear a guy sitting in the library in the medical school when operating on an open heart. Wash your hands before you start. Always wear sterile clothes. Never ever pick your nose. Right? You're not going to. But when you go into Beis Medrash, a guy is screaming, "Shor shenovichas hapora," with the God's enthusiasm. Right? And the pora is dead, decaffeinated, and the guy's singing away. Grace of Simcha. What's the pshat? The pshat is that Torah gives you energy. It gives you a bread. It gives you a geshmak. And people, it pours out from you a joy. It's people singing with the learning. So that's one nakuda. But there's another nakuda about the Shiur over here that you see in the parsha. It says, Chaim Friedlander brings down that it says that Chizkiyahu HaMelech could have been Mashiach, and the wiping out the army of Sancheir would have been Gog Magog. But the problem was he didn't sing Shira. See, Freitzik the Shiloh with him. Mashiach could have come, and because he didn't sing Shira, we're not coming. Can't have Mashiach. So we're Michael the Shira, right? What's the shot? So the word is like this. It says in there, we say every Shabbos, Nochoin Kisacho Me'oz, Me'olam Ota. Hashem's throne was established Me'oz, from the time of Oz Yashir. That's what established the throne of Hashem. So Mr. Pshat, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's throne was established because they sang Oz Yashir. So the Maral explains, you have to know, what does the word Oz mean? He says Oz means Echad Roichev Al Zayin. The Echad is the Aleph, and the Zayin is the Zayin. What is Zayin? 7. 7 represents the totality of different things in this world, right? It really represents that B'Shiva Drachim Yanusu Miponecha was the Pshat. It's not the number 7. 7 is the number of a totality, of physical totality. You have a box that has 6 sides, top and the bottom and 4 sides, and then the center. So it's 7. The concept of 7. So 7 represents the different forces in the world. So you look at the world. There's all sorts of different koiches. The world is it's a homogeneous group of different koiches that you can look at each one and say, Mi Eila, who are all these different forces? Mi Eila. Or you can say Elokim, the same letters. There's one koyach, one Rabbeinu Shloim, that takes all the various disparate forces in the world and puts them together to make one unifying conglomeration of the different koiches in the Bria working together. So that's Hashem is the Aleph, Roichev Al Zayin. You see that everything in the world works together to create the symphony that's the Bria. And who is taking care of it? That's HaKadosh Baruch, that's Elokim. Mi'ela Elokim, it's all one thing. And that's one idea of the word Oz, that everything that happens is under the control of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Another nakuda of the word Oz is the word Oz is interesting. It can mean future and it can mean the past. It says Oz Yivneh Shloima is in the future. Oz Hucha Likroi B'Shem Hashem is in the past. So the word Oz, basically, it combines the past and the future. And at the same time, it combines to HaKadosh Baruch Hu all the different multitudinous forces in the world. So the word Oz represents the totality, the past, the present, the future, and everything working together.
It also means the present?
What?
It could also mean the present?
It can mean the present too, Mr. also, but usually it means the past and the future. So the concept is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is about over the whole Bria, everything. So you look through history and you see all sorts of different things working together, all sorts of disparate things, and we don't understand why is this happening, why is that happening, what's going on. All the different things in the Bria are questions. What's it all doing, right? So the role of the Melech HaMashiach is to show how everything led up to the man of Mashiach, how everything fit in, how everything had a purpose and a tachlis, and how everything leads up to it. It's one big shira to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? That's what the word of Moshe Eisman said. And it says, "But it's man of Mashiach, Molo ha'oretz deya es Hashem, kamayim layam lechasen." The world will be filled with awareness of Hashem like the water covers the ocean. It says, what is the pshat? If you look in the ocean, you fly over the Atlantic, whatever, you'll see just one vast, endless, big pool of blue or green, whatever color it is. That's all you'll see, right? And let's say everybody would suck out all the water in the Atlantic Ocean, right? So what would happen? You would see, if the water wasn't there, you would see a whole universe. You would see shipwrecks, you would see trees and volcanoes and mountains, See a whole world that talks about the history and events, and you could talk about what happened and what it represents and all the things that happened, and there's trees and everything is there. And it's all smoothed over by the water. All you see is the water. History will have played itself out and will all be covered over with one understanding, that it's all Mola or Deus Hashem. Everything that happened will now be Deus Hashem. It's all the Yad Hashem. We'll see in history how every event was HaKadosh Baruch Hu choreographing things to bring to that final Geula. So that's the pshat that Melech HaMashiach will sing Shiur. Then what you see, what is a song? A song is made up of individual notes. So if you play a note on the piano, you don't have any music, you just have a note. You're banging that note. But when you combine a bunch of notes together, you have music. You have a symphony, right? That's the pshat, that the Melech HaMashiach has to be able to sing a shira. He has to be able to show how all the notes, all the events of history have led up to this man. So that's the pshat that that's why Chizkiyahu couldn't be Mashiach, because he wasn't able to show how everything led up to this moment, how everything was the tafkid that brought around the shleimus of the Malchus Hashem. So he wasn't Mashiach. But the Yesod verse, when Mashiach will come, all our questions will be answered. We'll understand everything, how everything led to that tachlis. So that's Nochon Kisacha Me'oz. Then we understood. Then Moshe understood. Ma'oz Chotosi Lefanecha, Ma'oz Basi Leim Hashir. I sinned, and now I want to say Shir. So that's one Inyan why there's a focus on the Shira. But there's another Nakuda that also in this vein, that both Devorah and Miriam are both considered Nevi'im, right? The Devorah and Nevi'ah, and it says, Vatikaf Miriam HaNevi'ah as a Toif Biyoda, Vatan Lahem Miriam Vatoimer, Shiur Hashem Ki Goiga Osus V'roich V'rom V'yom. So first of all, you see this Nakuda that both Miriam and Devorah had the ability to look at reality. Devorah married Baruch. She understood that through Baruch there would be a nitzachon against the armies of Sisera. Miriam was able to take the past and bring it to the future. She went to Amram and she said, you separated from my mother, you're going to marry her again, and you're going to bring to the future a Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? She also was able to merge the past and the future together. Right? So there's an akud of a similarity between these two in Yonah. But it's a moira dikazach. It says in the Pasuk that Vatan Miriam, Tikach Miriam and Toif Biyod Vatan, and she said, Shiur Hashem Ki Goigo. So first of all, what is it Vatan? Who did she answer to? Right? She could have said Vatosha, she sang, right? Or Omran, she said. Why does it say Vatan? She answered. So I saw that there's a machshava. The men tied it to the women. What are you singing for? Kriyas Yamsov was a hechatimsa to come to our Sinai to get the Torah. Women don't have to learn Torah. So what are you hacking a cup? What do what's it again to you? Matanla Miriam. So Miriam said, of Shiur Hashem, Sus v'roichev Roma Vayom. Now she had no better pasuk to sing about. She had to sing about the horses drowning in the Yam. Well, why did she have to sing about that? So Teretz says that the Yesod Dvarim is the horse. Why did the horse drown? What does the pasuk say that the horses drowned? Like, what's that negeya? And Stamazay, what did the horse do wrong? Right? The horse was whipped by the rider, so it rode. What's the horse shoulder? The Teretz says, you helped this guy ride in and fight with Klal Yisrael. You were a chelik of it. You're going to drown together with the rider, right? The horse was a chelik. He was ma'afshir, the mitzri, to chase after the yidden. So you're zeichet to drown in the yamsuf together with them. So Miriam is tining. We have no shaykhs to Torah. What are you talking about? If the horses of Paro, who have no bechira, and they drown in the yamsuf, right? So a woman who makes her husband learn, who helps her husband learn, who's involved, sends her children to the yeshiva, all these things. So a woman's chelek in that is mamish neir neirois. So if the schar of the horse for doing something wrong is mamish, he gets killed. Stell sich vor the schar of a woman, schar toivus meruba 500 times in schar in avera. Stell sich for what the reward of a Yiddish Freud would be, that she helps her husband and she helps her children and all of that. So that's the pshat. That's why she's saying, "Matan lahem." She said to the men, "Sus v'roich v'rom v'yom." Realize what happened to the horses, and al kal v'chomer, the women who are helping the men. That's what's going to happen. So that's the Yisoid Hadvorim. So that's one nakuda that you find over here in the parsha. Now, there's another idea over here that the Voira, Sforim say that the Voira was a nitzutz of the neshama, or she was a gilgul of Tzipora, who was married to Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, Tzipora was not zoiche to see Kriyas Yamsuf. If Yisro, it says by Yisro, Yishma Yisro, Mashmu Hashem Ba, Kriyas Yamsuf, Mechemes Amalek. So she missed out on Kriyas Yamsuf. And so she felt very bad. She marries Moshe, and Moshe left her, and she didn't get to see this Moyer Dika Kiddush Hashem. And so, but she was there for Kabbalah HaTorah, but she felt bad. She missed that opportunity. It wasn't like I wanted to see the show. I could have become, how much could have I steiged from Kriyas Yamsuf? So the Voira, the Gilgal of her, came back to see the Nitzochet against Sisroi. And like it says, Nachal Kishan Gorfim, the Nachal Kishan destroyed the enemies, the armies of Sisera. So in certain way, she got to see that and to sing Shira. So the Voira sings Shira instead of Tzipora sing the Shira, but she has that. So that was the Yisoid Hadvorim.
Well, all the water split, so she saw it. All the waters in the world split, so whatever water that was near her,
That's
so
a good
she
point.
saw something.
I hear. She didn't see the Mitzrayim drown and all that, but so I hear what you're saying. Good point. There's one more machshava that in the beginning of the Shira it says Oz Yoshir. So as I'll say, if you learn from this the Inyan of Tchias HaMesim, that Oz is talking about the future. Oz Yoshir Moshe, what's the pshat? It'll be a Tchias HaMesim. So the Maisa, I'm not sure if it was the Boston Rebbe, but it was right after the Holocaust. And we're trying to bring some life into the Yidden who were Zerbrochen, and it was a difficult matzah for Yidden to pull themselves together after what they experienced, or what they knew about, or what their families experienced. So it was people came to shul, and it was Simchus Torah, very ungesetzte matzah. And so the Rebbe said to them, Rabbi, I know that it's hard, but when Klal Yisrael sang Shira, right before, just a few weeks before, there was Makav Choshech, and 80% of Klal Yisrael died. Mistama, every family had a Korev that died in Choshech. He had 4/5 of the nation died in Choshech. Everyone's leaving there, and they left behind loved ones. It's not Shayach, you didn't know somebody who was Nifter, right? And so they're leaving Mitzrayim, and everybody is in Kamat Namatzah Velavelis. 80% of the nation died out. So how did they sing Shira? Teretz is because Oz means Tchias HaMesim. They knew that nothing is forever. There'll be a Tchias HaMesim. Nobody that dies forever. It's just, you go to another Mokum, and then the time will come when we'll be together forever and ever with everybody you knew and everyone you loved, right? So it's just like you're together, you're in a different room you can't get into, but we're all. So if you think about it that way, it can be freilich. If it's an avodas Hashem, it could be besimcha, because Oz Yoshir Moshe will be at Tchias HaMesim. So these are some of the machshavas about the Yamsuf, about Haftarah. We should be zeicher that very soon. We should be zeicher to be able to understand that song of Mashiach, and how all the different disparate moments in the world are joined together to bring about the Geula Shleimim Yetz Hashem.